Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the webinar today. We are very excited with the lineup we have for you and sincerely hope that you enjoy the webinar and are able to implement some of the learnings today into your own brand protection strategy. Some housekeeping tips quickly. The webinar is scheduled for 60 minutes. There will be 40 minutes for presentation and 20 minutes for Q&A. Please mute your mics during the presentation. If you have a question, you can always put it in the chat window. And when you're asking the question, please state your name before speaking for the recording. The presentation and the recording of the webinar will be made available in the following week. Now let's put TMCH into context. We all know that the need for online brand protection is growing. And nothing says that more clearly than the stat in front of us. The total loss from cybercrime is scheduled to cross $6 trillion by 2021, which was only $3 trillion in 2015. This is more profitable than the global trade of all major illegal drugs combined. It gives an idea that how big the problem is and how big the challenge is going to become in the near future. Now, why is this problem? Why has cybercrime increased so much? First of all, the internet has expanded. Now there are more ways for people to create domain names. There are new services being added daily, new social media platform, new ways to reach out to people and promote and send your message. More and more people are now able to access the internet. Thanks to the revolution brought in by Jio in India, everybody now has the opportunity to participate in the digital economy. And lastly, the ease of access to digital money. Gone are the days when you had to stand in a line in a bank to withdraw money. Now you can transfer money digitally from one person to anyone in the world. Services such as Paytm, Jio Money, UPI have drastically increased the ability for people to transfer money digitally. The way we look at it, a brand protection strategy is more of a three-pronged strategy. First, you need to figure out how to prevent infringement. Second, monitor and assess the infringement. And lastly, how to take action and shut down the infringements that are already happened. As part of the infringement prevention strategy, we suggest the first step is an entry into the Trademark Clearinghouse database, for which we have called in experts who will explain to us what is TMCH and how does it work. Second is the acquisition of the correct digital assets. And third is blocking your brand name across a large number of TLDs with a one swift move. So without further ado, I will introduce Donna and Kenny, who have joined us from TMCH, to take us through their presentation on what is TMCH and how does it benefit the brands and businesses by protecting it into the online space.
Thank you, Kenny. First of all, also a thank you from my side for joining this webinar. We're happy to be able here to explain to you what the clearinghouse exactly is and how it can help you as brands to protect your IP. On this first slide, we have a short agenda, so topics which we will tackle. We know we are already quite familiar with the new GTLD program, so we will go over it rather quickly. And then, of course, to focus on what is now the clearinghouse, how can you be eligible, how do we verify, and of course, what are the services that we offer. Next slide, please, Vivek. So very briefly, just to give you a background, as Kenny already indicated, we are mandated by ICANN to operate this clearinghouse. So where it all started was with ICANN, which is in essence a global nonprofit organization who actually regulates the internet. So they make sure that whenever you type in a URL in your search bar, that you end up to the correct web page. Two key things there, which you probably maybe already know, is that ICANN is a multi-stakeholder organization, so meaning all different actors of the domain name industry are represented there, and they also contribute to the actions of ICANN, which is mainly writing policy and basically making sure that the World Wide Web works as it should be. Next slide, please. small introduction also again on new GTLDs. So before, whenever you have a domain name, so the part you see on top, you have two components in there, which is a TLD after the second dot, so like .com, and then you have a label, in this example, Gucci shop. Before, we used to have GTLDs like .com, .org, but also CCTLDs like .in for India, .be for Belgium. Now in 2013, ICANN and the industry, they wanted to introduce a bigger spectrum of TLDs, which we call the new GTLDs. So examples there are .music, .shop, .app, .london, but there are many more in the list. So next slide, please. This makes that your guccishop.com from before can actually now become gucci.shop, which is from different perspectives such as marketing, but also maybe security-wise, it can be very appealing to brands to get a domain name, to register your domain name this way. So this is, next slide please, how indeed the new GTLD program was formed. So this is an initiative by ICANN and it was launched in 2013. And in essence, it's really the largest expansion ever seen in the domain name industry of those new TLDs entering the space. So this had many advantages, which you can also see on the slide. One of them was, of course, innovation, and this was a very innovative program for the industry, not only to stimulate new business, but also to provide people with a broader spectrum of possibilities to start or even to refresh their digital presence. There's also an increasing competition because, of course, the more TLDs you had available, this also gives a broader scope to domain name registrants, so increasing competition within the industry. But it also just gives a broader spectrum of possibilities to those people and it's beneficial for those domain name registrants that competition, of course, is increasing in the industry as such. Also, you can have some new GTLDs that would be location specific, which also could give you a competitive advantage in branding your trademark. Then also, of course, there's more consumer choice. As we have already indicated, you have way more options now to register your preferred domain name. But also right now, so before you only had GTLDs in the Latin script, whereas now there's also possibilities in other characters like Chinese characters, Arabic characters, and so on. So also there, this gives you way more variety to choose your preferred domain name. And then also security and control, because some of the new GTLDs, they are really built around the concept of security, such like, for example, .bank. So this is really to ensure clients that they enter a safe environment. And a new GTLD program also allows for brand TLDs. For example, we have one for .Deloitte, which also allows brands to really clearly identify their own website. So it's very clear to clients and there's less confusion there. But next slide, please. So there's a lot of advantages linked to this new GTLD program, but there are, of course, also risks to be taken into account. And the biggest concern there was that the new GTLD program, it also caused a higher level of potential infringement for brand owners because of the increased possibility of cyber squatting. So on the one hand, we, of course, have the free internet, so everybody is allowed to register domain names also if they don't have rights to that specific name. But of course, on the other hand, we have trademark owners who have rights on their IP, and they also have that exclusive right to prevent third parties from using their trademark. So of course, these two needed to be kept in balance, especially with the bigger expansion we had coming our way. And that is exactly why the Trademark Clearinghouse was created. Next slide, please. So if we have to summarize it in one sentence, the Trademark Clearinghouse would be a centralized database of verified trademark information. So it's actually the most important rights protection mechanism built into that new GTLD program by ICANN in 2013. And as a clearinghouse, we will in essence, so you basically come to us. We will verify your trademark, so an existing trademark you have. We will verify that, and then you receive privileged services from us. That's how we call it in one word. So what does that mean? That to owners of brands and of trademarks, that we give them specific services in order for, so only available to them, of course, which allows them to better protect their IP online. And also important is that the clearinghouse is a one-stop solution. So meaning for all the new GTLDs that are out there, the clearinghouse will offer the same services. So there's only one trademark clearinghouse. This is a global initiative, and for every new GTLD, so all the domains in all those new GTLDs, these services are offered by us, regardless of where your trademark is, for example, registered, so in which jurisdiction. Next slide, please. Now, in order to be able to enter the clearinghouse, we of course have some eligibility requirements. So which type of names, if you could call it like that, can be entered in our database. Those are registered trademarks, so meaning they are registered with a specific trademark office, and this has to be at least on a national level. So international registrations like WIPO, they are allowed as well, but at least a national impact should be included in your trademark registration. And secondly, we also have, we accept and verify marks which are protected under treaty or statutes, which is in essence a governmental law that makes that this name is protected. That this is a protected name, basically. And then thirdly, we also have court validated marks. As the word already indicates it a bit, this is marks which on which a judge or a court has decided on the ownership of this specific name. So these are three types of marks that we all accept in the clearinghouse. And important there to mention is as well that so if you have two trademarks with a trademark name, so the same trademark name, but this is, for example, registered in two different jurisdictions, then both of them are allowed to be included and verified by the clearinghouse, and both of them will also receive the same services from us. Moving on to the verification. So in the clearinghouse, we verify trademarks from all regions and from all languages. So no matter where your trademark is registered, it can be verified by us, also in every script. And also important that all of the submissions we have in the clearinghouse, which are verified, are equally, get an equal service offering. So regardless of in which classes you're registered, in which jurisdiction your trademark is registered, the services will remain the same for everyone. The type of marks that we verify, they consist of numbers, letters, but also special characters. So we have, which we will see in label generation, we have a transmission to put special characters also into a domain name, basically. Then in essence, what we do in the clearinghouse is verifying your trademark information. So we check whether it is correct and we check whether it is complete. And we base ourselves on the trademark registration, so the trademark certificate that is issued by the trademark office, so the jurisdiction in which you have your registered trademark. So this can be either online, offline, but this is actually the basis of our validation services. And then as a last point, important to remember is that the trademark clearinghouse services, they are offered on a label level. So, for example, if you have a trademark containing a space or an ampersand, this cannot be represented exactly like that in a domain name, of course. So this is why labels are generated based on your trademark name. And these are fixed rules. So there's a fixed ruling to transmit your trademark name into labels. And like the typical things which are done there are that spaces are either omitted or replaced by a hyphen. For special characters, there's also the possibility to have them translated in the language of your jurisdiction in which a trademark is registered. So for example, for a UK trademark, then if you have an ampersand in your trademark name, this would then actually be transmitted into and, the word and, because this is the translation of the ampersand in English language. Yes, next slide, please. Okay. So of course now we want to dive a bit deeper into which services we are actually offering in the clearinghouse. Important to notice is that we will focus on our main service offering, and this is actually tied to the phase in which a new TLD is currently in. So whenever you have, if we look at the top of the slide, the timeline, whenever a new TLD launches, you have a sunrise period. This is mandatory, so every TLD needs to have it, and it varies. It goes from 30 to 60 days. And during this period, we in the clearinghouse, we offer our sunrise service, which is actually a priority registration service. So what does it mean? It's that if you have a validated trademark in the clearinghouse, a bit more technically, we will actually provide you with a token as proof that you are verified in our clearinghouse. And then it gives you the right as the owner of this trademark to register your preferred domain name in this TLD before anybody else can do so. So in this period, only trademark owners who have their trademarks verified in the clearinghouse are able to register domain names, nobody else. Then, so after the sunrise period, the TLD goes open to what we call general availability. So also as the word indicates, then the whole wild world can start registering domain names in this TLD. And as from that moment, again, a mandatory period is the claims period. This is fixed for 90 days, again, in every TLD. Tied to this period in the clearinghouse, we offer claims notifications. So in the claims notifications, in essence, this is a warning service. So it consists out of two components. One is the warning that you will get as a trademark, as a domain name applicant, whenever you are trying to register a domain name which is actually containing a trademark which is verified in the clearinghouse. And from that, you can see an example here. So this is indeed the example of a trademark claims notice. And yeah, so this actually, if you can quickly read through it. So on top, it will give the name of the domain name as such. So here you could see for security reasons, we had to redact some of the information, of course, because the information in the clearinghouse is not publicly available. But whenever you would, as a registrant, try to register a domain that is for which the trademark is included and verified in the clearinghouse, this would be a pop-up you get as the registrant. So you see on top the domain name. So in this case, it was for a .lux domain name. And then it will basically indicate like, look, this is actually a trademark which is registered in the clearinghouse. So it could be that you are here infringing your the rights of this trademark owner, depending, of course, on your intentions. And then it will also give a short summary of that trademark. So typically it would include the name, also the owner, and then also for which classes the trademark is registered. So this is the claims notice. Only, yeah, you can go to the next slide. Yeah, only when the domain name applicant would agree on this. So if they say, okay, I agree, I accept this notice, and I continue with my domain name registration, then you, as a trademark owner who has their trademark verified in the clearinghouse, you will receive a claims notification from us. So the intention really here is to inform you as brand owner about what is happening with your brand online, in order for you then to, together with your TMCH agent at LdotR, to really see how this brand is potentially infringing your rights and what also to do about this. So it's really the information we want to give to you so that you can, based on your IP strategy, also take an informed decision about what you want to do with this potential infringement. And then lastly, we have also so basically these two, so sunrise and claims, this was what was mandated by ICANN. So this is where the definition from the Trademark Clearinghouse stopped according to ICANN as such, whenever they put up their definition of TMCH, let's say. Now, as the operators of the Trademark Clearinghouse, we believe that there was still great value in still informing our clients after these 90 days periods, because in the end, you're still only 4 to 5 months down the launch of a TLD. So that is why we added ongoing notification services to our Trademark Clearinghouse. It is very similar to claims service, so it's again a warning service that we offer, with the difference here that the warning message, so the one you saw before, the claims notice, that is no longer shown to domain name applicants. But still, you as an owner of a verified trademark in the clearinghouse, you will receive a notification whenever there's something happening on a domain name which is matching your trademark in the clearinghouse. Important there to indicate is that we recently also upgraded our service. And now we have actually all new GTLDs, which are live. They are included in our service. So meaning that we are sending ongoing notifications for domain names in 1,223 TLDs, new GTLDs. It is important to notice that this is not sending notifications for like a .com, a .net, a .org, because those are not part of the new GTLD program. Also not for country TLDs, because those were also not part of the program initially. Another thing, which is an important difference between the three services, is that Sunrise and Claims, those are offered for your exact trademark. So as we indicated before, based on your trademark name, there will be labels generated, just again to make sure it fits a domain name, basically. What is important with ongoing notifications is that there you can add variations. So we have specific rules for that. But for example, if your trademark would contain an E, and then you could actually get also notifications for your trademark where the E is replaced with the euro sign, for example. Because this also gives you insight into what is happening with your domain, with slightly different changes to it. So this is also something that is offered in ongoing notifications, again, giving you a broad spectrum of information of what is happening with your brand or its slight variations in the online space. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this was, again, these are our main services that we wanted to clarify to you, which you can actually categorize into two categories. So one, you can secure your trademark, which is mainly done by the Sunrise service, since you have the first right to register your domain name in this TLD. And then on the other hand, we also have monitoring services under which you could classify the notification services, so both the claims and the ongoing, because there, you can really see what is happening with your brand online and then take appropriate steps where needed. And then lastly, we also wanted to highlight the importance of active management of your trademark clearinghouse submissions. So this consists out of following up closely on Sunrise periods and also making sure that whenever there would be a TLD launching, so you have that Sunrise period, that you also have your token, which you need to be able to have your priority registration. Also important is, of course, to make a good assessment about the notifications you receive related to the verified trademarks you can have in the clearinghouse. It's also because we do continuous check on the information we have in our database. So at some point, it could be that updates need to be made to this submitted information. And also there, it's important to correctly update these and also to do this on time. The fourth point, those variations, which we talked about in the slide before, it's also important there to make sure to always re-evaluate whether the relevant variations are still being picked up, so that you also receive relevant notifications for your trademark, for domain names based on your trademark. And then lastly, also, it's of course important to renew your TMCH records on time, and to make sure that you can keep on benefiting from the services that we offer. And so in this regard, for sure, LdotR is a specialist in offering a consolidated brand protection solution. And they include TMCH services, but are for sure not limited to it. So they can actually guide you in taking the best approach in line with your IP strategy, of course, to make sure that your brands are protected online. So this was, in a brief nutshell, what we do in the clearinghouse and what we offer. But of course, later on during the Q&A, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer to those. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you, Kenny. Like Donna said, if you have questions, you can put them in chat or hold on till we reach the Q&A session. I just wanted to put this data out for everybody that currently there are about 3 top level domains that are either in the sunrise period or the sunrise period is about to start. They are .meet, M-E-E-T, .dealer and .cYOU. So if those are of interest to you, we are more than happy to tell you how you can acquire them or protect your brand in these TLDs immediately. Going back to where we were in terms of how does your brand protection strategy work? And we just heard from Donna and Kenny how TMCH is the first line of defense when it comes to prevention of infringement. Now let's look at the second pillar of the brand protection strategy, which is the monitoring and assessment part of the infringements. This is a complex process that we follow, and it has 3 independent steps. In the first step, we start collecting data of all types of infringement that can be a possible infringement on your brand. We look at the data sets that we have curated. We have proprietary data sets from data collected all over the internet. We perform in-depth search across the platforms that we select. It could be domains, it could be websites, social media platforms, app stores, e-commerce platforms. We receive the TMCH notifications that we have received during the monitoring period, as well as curated cybercrime lists that we use, which are curated by people all over the world who are working on this field. We collect all that information together and make that as an input to the second step. Here we start to whittle down the list. We have to reduce the list based on, was the infringement previously captured when it was assessed and is no longer a requirement? Is there a false positive? Sometimes the trademark name, the combination of letters might reflect a trademark name, but if those letters, if the word is broken down, it might mean something completely different. So those we call as false positives. Is that a domain name which was already identified and has been deactivated? That means it's not a threat anymore. We remove those. And obviously the domain names or other identities which are already owned by the clients, we remove these. This gives us the final list on which we start to do the threat assessment level. Our threat assessment level has multiple parameters, and these parameters are defined and discussed with the client when we begin the engagement to identify what is more important to them and at what level of efficiency that they want to identify these infringements. Some of the common ones we generally use with all clients is recency. How recent is this infringement? Because if an infringement happened in the past few weeks or a week as compared to something that happened in 2015, the one which is recent is more important and needs to be taken on higher priority. Does the infringement contain brand identity elements? Does it have your logo on it? Is it using specific colors in the format that the brand uses? Also, how much traffic is coming to that infringement? If it's a website, how much traffic is it seeing? If it's a domain, is it sending out millions and millions of emails as compared to a domain which is not doing anything? And obviously, is this infringement done by a repeat offender? We maintain a list of offenders across the brands that we work with and across collected from multiple internet sources. And so we check if the domain or the website or the social media handle or the e-commerce listing is owned by one of the repeat known offenders, then we classify it as a higher priority threat. Once we have this data, we share that information with the client. And once we have a go ahead, we start the process of nullifying the infringements. The nullification of the infringement is it's a very complex process. It's not a same model that can be utilized across multiple platforms. But our aim in the nullification process is to provide fast relief so that the time between an infringement happening and the time when the infringement has been shut down is reduced. Because as long as the infringement is active, people will be duped and consumers will be harmed. So the aim is to provide rapid relief as compared to bringing the infringer to justice. In some cases, we do that as well. We work with clients to identify the repeat offender and find as much information about it as we can to make a strong case if the person is to be taken to a court of justice. About 80%, 85% of the results, positive results, we have within 48 hours. Some of them take longer, but that is a good stat that we have across the clients that we serve. It's very cost effective. Compared to filing a UDRP for a domain, our cost is about 90% less in bringing down the offending website. And if the website has been turned off and if some time back the domain is activated again, we keep a check of it and take action repeatedly and as many times as required to make sure that it stays down. Using the technology that we have built and the systems we have put in place, we can take bulk actions. So we don't have to file one case after another in a sequential manner. We can file a large number of cases at the same time, which again increases our efficiency and helps bring down these infringements quickly. In the last webinar, the feedback we got was that there should have been a case study to help clients give us idea of what other brand owners are doing. So we have put together some data to showcase what we have done in the past with a big client and what kind of success they received. So here's a case study on a successful execution of a brand protection strategy. The client that we're talking about is one of the largest e-commerce companies in India, and they were facing challenges across two platforms, domains as well as social media. A lot of people were doing lottery scams where they created fake websites pretending to be associated with the company and were offering people Tata Safari and other prizes. Fake jobs. I'm sure a lot of attendees today have seen this or come across people who are offering fake jobs and try and get money out of applicants, and fake customer care numbers, where people put in numbers which are not correct. And when a customer would search on Google or click on a link, be taken to a fake customer care number, and then the cycle of crime begins. So this is the challenge that they came up with and asked us to help them on it. Working with the IP team and the general counsel, we put in a strategy in place to tackle this infringement, and these are the steps that we took. So the first one, like we said, we acquired an entry in the TMCH database, and we always maintain that TMCH is the first line of defense for brand when it comes to infringement in the online space. So we were successfully able to acquire an entry in the TMCH database, and I worked closely with Donna on that to get it as quickly as possible. Secondly, they had some digital assets that they had acquired, but it was outdated and not refined and not looked at. So we again looked at the brand, the services that they offer, and put in place a refined digital acquisition strategy, which was updated frequently to make sure it reflects the recent changes in the internet space. Based on that, they acquired some domain, which drastically brought down the number of new infringements, high priority infringements that were happening on their brand. That included looking at the new TLDs and acquiring relevant domains in those. Then we put in place a rapid domain infringement identification and enforcement process. When we had started working with them, they knew of 3 domains that were infringing on them. When we started monitoring, we identified more than 20 active websites that were using their brand name and brand identity elements to commit cybercrimes. So in order to clear the backlogs, we started working with them by doing monitoring every week, sharing the results with them, and doing enforcement action on those to clear the backlog and bring down the number drastically. We increased this time period from 1 week to once in 2 weeks. And right now we are working with them. We provide the report to them once every month. because the number of infringements have really come down. We also put in place the same structure for social media monitoring and enforcement. Like I said, they had a lot of backlog that they were not aware of, and monitoring services did unearth a lot of these active infringements happening. We followed the same time period with them, and right now we are sitting at once every month, report to them on the number of infringements and whether they are high priority or low priority. And review and repeat. So we would have a meeting every quarter with the team to see what is working, what is not working. Are there new kind of threats that are coming that need to be included in the monitoring and search systems? Are there new keywords? Are they introducing new brands or sub-brands or services, so that we can keep updating our search capabilities, our curated list, and to capture these new threats before they become big. Let's look at the results that we achieved from this. During the first couple of months, we received about 190 notifications via TMCH. And these were the notifications that were received, which Donna was talking about. We maintained an active variations database with them, kept on updating it and fixing it. And these TMCH notifications were helpful because we can take action against these domains immediately and not wait for it to become a big challenge for them. More than 200 infringing domains with active websites were identified and shut down. With domain enforcements, we had a success rate of more than 95%. For social media, more than 300 social media posts were identified with a success rate of 98% in enforcement. We had, like I said, our aim is to provide rapid relief. So we were able to reduce the infringement damage time by 75%. That really helped reduce the number of complaints that they were receiving on the call centers or on social media, saying that they were duped and this is a mistake of the brand. And they could see a clear ROI. The impact was so good that the senior management now requests a monthly report on what was achieved and what was shut down, so that they know that their brand is protected. And this has only happened because of positive ROI, and they have renewed the contract, and we are in the second year operating and working with them. That's all I had to share now. And now we can open it up for Q&A. So I will go through the chat right now and see if people have put in some questions. And after that, we will open it up for people to unmute, give their names, and also ask the questions. I don't see any questions in the chat, so we will open it up. Anybody has a question, please unmute, state your name, and ask your question. You can also type your question in the chat window for me to read out and answer that question.
Yeah, I have a question. What are the basic requirements to get a TMCH registration?
Okay. Donna, maybe you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So as we indicated before, there's 3 types that you can enter, which is, well, we can say that most of the trademarks that we get into the clearinghouse are registered trademarks. So meaning, yeah, it's a trademark which is registered at the at least national trademark office. So in your case, I think most of we do have also, for example, Indian brands in our database as well. So that's from the Indian Trademark Office, their registration. Important is that applications are not allowed. So you really need to have a registered trademark. So basically meaning that the Trademark Office confirms that you have the rights to that specific name. Do you have any further questions to that, or does that respond to your question?
I'll just add something to it.
Sure.
Like Donna had said earlier, I want to clarify that you don't need to have the trademark registration in the country in which you operate. The trademark registration can be in any geography. It just has to be at a national level, and it can be in any class.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you just need to have a registered trademark. It cannot
Yeah,
be in
indeed.
process or in application. That will not be accepted by TMCH. Thank you for that.
But it's indeed correct that it's not because your head office, for example, is based in India that you need to have an Indian trademark. That's not a requirement at all. Just at least a national trademark registration from a trademark office all around the world, basically.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
While we wait for people to put their questions, I'll discuss something that it is very important to note that when you enter your brand in the trademark clearinghouse, if the brand name has a special character in this, it will be treated a little differently. We recently entered a brand in the trademark clearinghouse which had a dot in their name. So Donna, maybe you can share again what happens in case there's a special character, how many labels are generated in that case?
Yeah, specifically for a dot, we do have, which we call our dot rule, because there's just we have to be careful with trademarks including a dot. Why? Because also dots are included in a domain name, of course. So there's a few rules there. I can also share those with you. What is important is that your trademark name as such cannot start with a dot. The reason why is because this can always become a new GTLD in the future. So that's why these can, if you would have, I'm just saying, like with the example of ICANN, if you would have a trademark which is .ICANN, this is your trademark, then this would not be able to be included in the clearinghouse because the new GTLD program is also ongoing, and so there will be future rounds as well where new GTLDs can again be applied for, granted, and then also be used. And it is possible that in the future that .ICANN becomes a TLD, for example. So that's one thing. Then also, I mean, what else is not allowed is if your trademark would include a TLD. So for example, if you have a brand which is called brand.ICANN, for example, and if .ICANN, or let's say jazz.radio, imagine, then this one could not be accepted either because .radio is a new TLD. And otherwise, you know, you have issues with getting your domain name correctly. So those are specific rules that we have, but dots are in general included. So if they don't fit into one of these categories, they are included. So if you have, imagine Mr. Spaghetti as a brand, then mr.spaghetti, that's allowed. And indeed, in that circumstance, what would be happening with your label is that, again, the TLD, so the dot included in there will be omitted or replaced by a hyphen. So the little stripe. Those are then your possibilities. Also, for example, if you would have a trademark which is a bit of a sentence and the dot is at the end to show the punctuation, that's also allowed.
Thank you.
So
thank you, Donna.
Anything else though, that you wanted to clarify on that one? Or?
There's a question on the chat. You may want to pick that up.
Sure. There's a question here from Ajay. It says, why use LdotR instead of court action? Ajay, that's a very relevant question, and we get that quite a lot when we're working with legal professionals. See, you have to realize what the aim is. The aim is to prevent the infringement from reaching a lot of customers and customers from being duped. So speed is of the essence in these cases. While a court case will provide you relief, but it matters on how long does it take and how much does it cost to do that. If your aim is to simply shut down that infringement, close it, nullify it so that it cannot do you any more damage, then we can do it faster, cheaper, and more efficiency than a traditional court case. But if your aim is to bring that person to justice, to find out who that person is and make a case out of it, then you can always use courts. and the normal legal process, but it will take you longer than it would if we take action using the process and policies set in the digital landscape. I hope that helps answer the question. Thank you, Ajay. Okay, while we are waiting for more questions, I just wanted to reiterate something that Donna had said about IDNs. So IDNs stand for Internationalized Domain Names, wherein you can have a domain name in the script of your own country. So in India, there are about, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 8 to 10 different scripts, and you can register a domain name which says .bharat, which is what India is called in Hindi. And different scripts can be used to register a domain name. For example, today I can register LdotR.Bharat, whereas Bharat is written in Devanagari script, Odia script, Punjabi script, Gurumukhi, and many others. What I can also do is I can have L.R being again written in a Devanagari script. So I can have my whole domain in the Devanagari script with the left and right of the dot being in the local script. And this is especially true because a large chunk of the people in the world are not comfortable with using English or using the Latin alphabets, and the vernacular content is growing rapidly. That is why it is important to protect your brand and acquire the right digital assets even in these languages, so that people who are comfortable with vernacular languages can also reach the right place in your brand, and they are not acquired by threat actors to abuse and conduct cyber crimes. Okay, if there are no more questions or if there are any more comments, then we can take them now.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, please go on.
Yeah, actually, my question is related to takedown of infringing contents or products from social media websites and online marketplaces.
Okay.
So based on what I provide you, what are my trademarks? Based on that, you will conduct a search on the entire marketplaces, right?
Correct.
And you will get out some infringing URLs and all, and then you will send a CND notice or takedown notice to the offenders as well as the online marketplace operators, right?
We generally do not send any letters to the offender because in our experience, these are people who have been doing this time and time again, and it's not a mistake that they have done. So generally CND letters in our experience are not effective at all. We directly work with the platforms on which they are existing or utilize other policies available in the digital space to get that listing or that website down.
Okay, and how would you distinguish between an infringing content and a genuine product? Because I also sell my products on online platforms, and how will you distinguish that?
See, that distinguish those factors are decided with the client at the beginning when we start a relationship, and they are refined as we go on. So we have a set of criteria that we discuss with the client and they give us. Sometimes it is based on if the normal, it can be different factors. One, it can be based on packaging. Second, whether that person is even authorized to offer your product or not. Third, sales price is a big factor. Generally, people who are selling fake products sell it at a much lower price than what is available in the market. So there are other criteria as well. The region in which they're selling, are they authorized to sell in that region? Are they authorized to sell in that platform or not? So we utilize multiple parameters which we discuss with the client beforehand. And based on that, we discuss what is the probability of this listing being fake or not genuine. And again, we always share that with the client, and only when the client agrees with our assessment do we take action against them.
Okay. Okay. I will come up with more questions if I have any.
Please. Thank you. We have one more question. How long is the TMCH registration valid for? Donna, maybe you can take this one.
Yeah, sure. We have, you can register your trademark in the clearinghouse. There's 3 possibilities, either for 1 year, for 3 years, or for 5 years. And then it can be renewed again later on, of course. So there's different options depending on also, how you take your IP strategy, how you want to organize this. You can have 1 year submissions, but also multi-years. Does that respond to the question or anything else?
I think it does, Donna.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, you can unmute your mics and ask questions, or you can put the questions in chat, whatever works for you. We're open to taking questions.
Great, looks like there are no more questions. So do you think we should proceed?
Yeah. Yes, we'll do that. Well, thank you everyone for attending the webinar, and thank you, Donna. Thank you, Kenny, for joining us. I know it's very early in the morning for you and it's a holiday in Belgium. So thank you once again for joining.
No problem. It was our pleasure to be here.
And if any of the attendees have any questions, you can always send your questions on our email address, connect@l.r.red. It's also in the chat, and we'll be more than happy to answer or tell you how we can help your brand protect itself in the online space. So thank you everybody for joining, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vivek. Bye.